Done. There it is. Okay, I got it. It reset because I mixed the cables up. That's okay.
Yep.
Like I tested it through like the Audacity and stuff the other day.
Yep.
But needed to fix the stream. All right. Hi, hello, and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
And I'm your co-host, Ian.
This podcast was created to provide you, our heroes, with new and reusable material for both players and DMs.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure.
Is that a condom on your head, Ian?
Nope.
We want to thank you guys for joining us today here at Crit Academy Studios, where everything's made up and your roles don't matter.
Yep, that's right. You roll like a tap room without a nice selection of booze. Like bourbon dough.
Oh, that's funny. I gotta check your... I think your volume is a little low here. We'll get you fixed there.
I think it was higher a moment ago.
It was. I adjusted it, but I think I'm adjusting the wrong one.
How dare you?
Yep, I was definitely adjusting the wrong one. That's how it goes, though, I think, with me. I'm really excited. So we got a little bit of late start because I was running an AetherCon panel on our Twitch page. I ran the Madhouse of Tasha's Kiss with some awesome players. You guys were fantastic. It was such a blast. But now back to the real, back to business, back to working. So I'm really excited. We got a really great episode for you guys today. Our Let's Talk About Blink segment. We're going to answer a question from Jewish Young. Our main topic is Taverns, Inns, and Taprooms. I really think this is a fantastic product, and I can't wait to discuss it with you guys. And of course, we have our honor tips and tricks. I am really excited about our player tip today because it is going to really tickle the dice of all the power gamers out there. It's pretty savage. But before all that, we spent a few minutes talking about what's going on in our realm. Brandon, what's going on in your realm?
Crickets.
That's fascinating. Thanks for joining us today. Ian, how about you? What's going on in your realm?
I'm going off of 4 hours of sleep right now, so this will be interesting.
Yeah, well, I'll do what I can to keep it on track and keep it short and sweet. I just, like I said, just finished the Aether panel stuff. I got to interview some awesome people this week at AetherCon this weekend. I spent about 5 or 6 hours on Saturday interviewing different people from Iron GM Games. That was so much fun. Lost Sphere Publishing. And then I also interviewed Griffin Co., who make miniatures and stuff. And it was just fantastic and was just a whole lot of fun in general. It was a busy weekend. And of course, I just ran Madhouse of Tasha's Kiss for the last, since 2 o'clock all the way up until about 15 minutes ago, actually. So it was cutting it pretty close. But I'm really excited. Ian, if they'd like to visit other realms, how can they do so?
Well, they can go to our website and they can click on the link to get a free trial for Audible, where they can also get a free audiobook download that they get to keep.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Definitely check it out. I love my Audible subscription. That being said, before we really get into the game, into our show, we really like to start off on a high note, and we do that by giving away fat loots, compliments of our sponsors. Ian, if they want to register to be one of these winners, how can they do so?
Once again, go to our webpage. Click subscribe. And they can also like our Facebook page, Twitter. Yeah, there's a few options.
Yeah, definitely check it out. It's easy, free, and it's fantastic. It's easy way. It's free adventures, and these are best-selling adventures from DM's Guild, so it doesn't hurt. I promise I don't flood you with emails. You usually only get one when we release a new product, so I don't bug you too much. That being said, Ian, who is our winner this week of Loresmith's best-selling adventure, The Claws of Madness?
Billy Lewis Form.
Oh, that's really quiet. Congratulations, Billy. If you enjoy the adventure, please do us a favor and leave leave Loresmith a review. Loresmith is awesome. They are really going far out and doing some amazing work. Their miniature, tiles are absolutely amazing. I saw an image of a guy who basically took them and then glued them to cardstock and to cardboard, and it looks awesome. It was fantastic. It really tickles my dice. Congratulations, Billy. Like I said, if you like it, make sure to leave a review. The best way to help indie publishers. So, moving on to our Let's Talk About Blank segment, we have a question that actually just came in the mail this weekend. I actually changed out the one that I had for this because this one was sent directly to me and was a really good thing I think we would like to talk about. It says, "Hey guys, I've been listening to your podcast for a couple weeks now, and I fucking love it. Y'all are hilarious and obviously committed to creating an immersive experience in your games and helping others do so. Usually I put it on in the background while I work or to and from work. I've DM'd for a couple of months actually and just played a character for the first time last night. I remember when that's an exciting moment. It really is.
I get to play.
I know, right? Being on the other side of the table gave me some real insight onto some of the things that I was doing wrong. Now, first of all, there is doing things wrong, but sometimes it's just a mistake or something you're not fully understanding or you're just not aware of. So I wouldn't say you were doing it wrong. You just found some room for opportunity for improvement, right?
So that's what it's like on this side.
Yeah, I know, right? So the question, I tend to DM for people who have either never played or only played a couple of times. Last night was very similar, mostly brand new players. Combat was heavy and a bit convoluted, like 20 different monsters.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I just spit on my screen. That's so nasty. Which is great, but guys were unsure of what to do, and the new guys were unsure of what to do, and the experienced players were frustrated. Would you agree that depending on the level of experience, you could skim over the things until the newbies get a solid footing on the rules? Master the basics, then move on to the more complicated combat mechanics. I love strategy, but by the end of the 3-hour session, most people were bored and frustrated. Thanks. Have a great day. Would you like to take this first, Ian?
I would say generally speaking, it depends on the group, but yeah, with new players, I can definitely see keep things simple and ease them into it and add more rules as you go along.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to like combat design for the encounters. If you make simpler encounters and then gradually add the details to them, like kobolds and goblins don't do a whole hell of a lot, so you can start with that and make it super simple. Go in, stab the enemy. Don't add traps. Don't add all that stuff. Wow, I'm going opposite of what I normally would do. It's so weird. When you're designing your encounters, gradually make them more complex. Make it so all they have to do is attack. Make it so all they have to do is the wizard is running every time he's played a wizard, doesn't really understand his abilities, but has minor illusion. Give him an opportunity to make it an illusionary wall to skip by something, And if the player doesn't think about it, don't be afraid to tell the player. Give me an intelligence check. Okay, you think it would be a good idea to use minor illusion to block this wall, just allowing you to pass and skipping all the stealth checks. You know what I mean? There's a lot you can do to encourage the gradual use of the mechanics into the game. But in some cases, if you're worried about them learning the rules, just have them focus on what they want to do, and then you just narrate it without even worrying about how the rules work. And since you understand it, it should be a little easier. So the person says, I want to attack this. You say, okay, you're going to roll your d20, then roll your damage die, or roll them both at the same time. If it's a rogue who has sneak attack, you know that if you charge up alongside the paladins who's fighting the goblins, you'll be able to get in there to get a more precise shot and do more damage and trigger your sneak attack. You can describe that to them as they're going to help get them into it as well, I think.
Yeah.
Anything you would add to that?
No, I think you covered it pretty good there.
That's how I roll, people. And then as you go, just add more mechanics, and I think that's a great way to do it. Wizard Cadia says, I get to alternate each game. Keeps me sharp. Must be nice. I actually can't complain. I've gotten to play most of the time lately, so that's the fantastic change. So I think that'll do it for our Let's Talk About Blank segment. Ian, I was going to go somewhere else with that. If they would like to submit topics for discussion or questions for us to answer, how can they do that?
Well, they can get a hold of us through social media outlets. Once again, our Twitter page, our Facebook page, and they can email us directly.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Especially if you put in the headline, I got a question. It really helps me draw attention to that. Because otherwise, sometimes it just ends up in like a queue of all the other stuff that I get. It takes a while to get to. That being said, we hope we answered your question. If we didn't, send us a letter to the complaint department. We finally got our first $5 complaint. Thank you, Tater. He actually just walked up to the table during the convention and said, "You suck," and then gave us $5. So, thanks for that, Tater. So moving on to our
this is our first show since the con, isn't it?
Yeah, because we did one at the con, but
Right.
I don't think we've done one since the con, have we? 'Cause that was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're back from CataCon, which we had a blast.
Yeah, it was actually kind of nice seeing our a few fans are in person for the first time. Tater, I could spot like a mile away from his
Oh
beard.
yeah, I swear to God, he was waiting for us. Like we're exhausted, we're tired, we're coming along, and we're going down the escalator, and there's this big bearded guy looks up and gives us the finger, and we're like, hey, look, that must be Tater.
Yep.
So I was like, how long you been waiting there for us? He said he wasn't waiting, but I didn't believe him. He was stalking us. He was even in the same hotel. It was very creepy.
I think everyone was in the same hotel, to be fair.
That's true. But it was a lot of fun. I really had a blast.
The elevators were weird there.
Yeah, like the lights were shutting off and stuff. It was blinking, and half of them didn't work. And
I'm pretty sure like the elevators had to complete an up and down circuit every time, no matter where you were, no matter which button you pressed.
Yep, it was pretty horrible.
It was even worse when the restaurant was closed down.
Oh yeah, but the restaurant was awesome.
Yeah.
So much fun. The food was good. Oh my God, Ian ate like 4 plates in one sitting. I couldn't believe it.
The buffet, yeah.
Yeah, he should have walked out there looking like me. Hey, it's John. Welcome, man. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yep. Yeah. Although to be fair, I did not eat for the rest of the day after that breakfast either.
Yeah, it's because you basically filled your entire everything with it.
I did chip myself.
I'm pretty sure you walked out of there with an ass looking like mine. It was like, whoa, you know. But it was a lot of fun. Anyways, so back onto the main topic of discussion. We are going to be covering. Where's my? I lost my. There it is. My PDF didn't open. We are covering taverns, inns, and taprooms. What a fantastic product. If anybody has listened to our episode where we interviewed Loresmith and we talked about the Remarkable Inns book, it really is reminiscent of that.
Yep, made me think of that too, actually.
A lot of good stuff in it. So before we get into too much of the nitty-gritty, Ian, what is it about it that you really thought was interesting about this product? Anything that jumped out at you?
Well, players all the time spend some of their downtime in the middle of adventures, between adventures, at taverns, inns, but we don't really flesh them out too much. This product does just that.
Yeah, and it does it in a really great way. And that's why I wanted to bring this to our topic discussion. I'm actually going to post the link to the product if you decide to pick it up. If you like what you hear, you can pick it up. If not, you can just run with the ideas that we've already given you.
Whoa!
But there's a lot of good stuff in here. So working your way through this. So I closed it again. So this is a really interesting book because it breaks it down into a couple different things. If you would have asked me what's the difference between all these things, they're all the same thing. But taverns, inns, and taprooms are all different, right? And there's a really nice breakdown. Taverns obviously is where most of the civilized world meets. It's a communal gathering place. They share food, stories, camaraderie. That's really what you think. Lots of booze, right? That's kind of what people go there for. And then, of course, you have inns, which are stayover places. And generally, those kind of coincide, right? Most inns are taverns, and they really fit well together. But Taprooms is something I've never actually seen in any game, where it's just a place you go to drink. There's necessarily not any food. It's not a big place. It's just designed to test different flavors of beer and booze and all those sorts of extravagance. What I think is great, because that can add a lot of exotic stuff to your game, especially if it's in something like a port town where there's a lot of travel. So this one bar can have all kinds of different booze, not just bourbon toe like everyone in my world. They have ale and bourbon toe pretty much anywhere you go in my world. So it's pretty fantastic. So they break this down pretty good, don't you think?
Yeah, there's some NPCs. They give you some quest ideas.
So starting with the taverns, they give you a collection, I think, of like 8 or 9 different taverns. And they break it down by size, the food that they have, the services that they offer, the entertainment, and operations. Now, that's one that really is exciting to me.
Maps.
Because maps. They're coming with details and quest hooks, basically, for each unique location, which ties to the story of each location, which is just so awesome.
And menus. They have menus.
Oh, yeah, I love the menus, and they're printable. They're printable, and they're all different, so you can post them like on your wall for your players to go through them. For instance, one of the ones that I thought was really interesting, it had a really great story, was the was the where's it at? The Big Bone Cookery. So they have this region classification that tells you the type of place it would be at. And this one they consider a temperate location. The lodging is minimal. The food is grand. The atmosphere is elegant, and the entertainment is poor. That's a good opportunity for any entertainer background or bard or any character who likes to really role play their instruments and all that stuff. It can really make it stand out. What I liked about this is it talks a little bit about the background, and I say a little bit. There's 4 paragraphs of background in this. Did you get a chance to run over this at all?
Not as thoroughly as I would like to normally, but
there's a lot here.
I skimmed through it quickly and get the general idea.
Yeah.
Going through the Taste of Fire, like you're saying, they rate the lodging, they tell you the region, the general climate, who works there, the matrons, cooks, managers, general staff.
Yeah. And that's, I think, which is interesting. So, and it's not just, here's this name of this person. For instance, for the background section of the Big Bone Cookery, it goes into details. It says, with no more than 5 sleeping rooms for rapidly changing choices of drink and no entertainment to speak of, the true heart of the Big Bone Cookery is an awe-inspiring menu. The head chef, Garamount Don Elibiaz, I don't know if I said that right, but whatever, is rumored to have been the lead chef to a royal family in the far south before being forced to flee the unwanted advances of the queen and the brutality of her king.
Dun, dun, dun.
How awesome does that sound?
That sounds pretty good.
That is such an amazing story. And it goes on to give you all the details of the flooring and stuff like that. But just that first paragraph really sucks you into what makes this thing stand out. Well, they talk about the menu. Is there anything on that menu that really you think makes that interesting by chance?
I'm actually reading the menu for a different end right now.
Are you? Oh, no, you can. I'm specifically talking about this one at the moment.
Right.
It's on page 11.
But I recall, I skimmed through that menu too, and I did like the fact that there is a... What the heck?
It doesn't have a big giant page like the other ones.
No, that's what threw me off. But before I got breakfast, lamb and beef bone soup with carrots. That sounds very good. Dinner, cornbread with white beans and chopped beef. Spicy potato sausage soup. Ooh, that one was really good.
Yeah, and you can print these off, which just makes it fantastic. Once again, it gives a good reference. It gives the prices. Because honestly, I make that stuff up as I go. And really, because of that, I don't often remember exactly what I made. But if your players are staking out an area or in it for a while, they can come up with a favorite dish. They get known by the NPC. They become a regular, which I think is really cool. So some of the other things I wanted to talk about. So we're gonna continue just using this one as a reference point for the taverns. It talks about the owner and the owner and the head chef, and it gives you more details about it. It tells you that he's a sun elf, and he's actually monster manual-wise, he's a cultist. He's stocky, olive-skinned, and has a noticeably odd gait, right? But what's interesting is they goes into more detail about the staff, which isn't something that usually happens, right? Mm-hmm. Usually it's just, he's got some servers, some wenches, what is a guy? What is that?
Swain.
A swain.
Swain.
But this says this one's titled The Caretaker. Krista Den Ebeliz, which I assume is like his husband or his wife, gives her a detail, and it talks about she's in her early 20s. She's She's youthful. Often she adorns her ears with horns and thin silver chains. I mean, that's a lot of detail for just the help, but it makes the area feel more alive. And then there's a whole nother subset for the staff, discussing the hired staff, and they give them even names. They talk about Herc Embereye. The barman is a red-bearded hill dwarf with a bushy square eyebrows. So in addition to his job serving drinks and tending guests, Herc acts as the tavern security. So that's nice. He's also the bartender, literally, mm-hmm. keeping the riffraff out. It also gives you some brief stats to some of them. What I think is additionally makes this interesting is it talks about the rooms and the amenities into great detail. Wash closets, smoke dealers. What is a smoke dealer?
Smoke dealer?
Yeah, it says few peddlers are allowed inside the Big Bone Cookery. The exceptions bring local sellers of pipe weed, tobacco, and smoking accessories.
Oh, there we go.
Many guests partake in the consumption of such products after an enjoyable meals, including Krista, who smokes a particular brand of orange-scented tobacco called Rickard's Orchard. I mean, that's some fantastic world building right there. Who the hell is Rickard, and where's his orchard?
Yeah. Actually, I'll admit though, we mentioned like the smoke room. That actually made me think of, generally speaking, when it comes to like tobacco products, especially cigarettes, I just can't stand the smell. But I recall one time where when I was in college, I was walking out of the library. I saw this guy who looked like a professor smoking a pipe, and this guy was smoking like a chimney, like like huge clouds coming out from his pipe. And walking behind it, I'm like, oh no, this is gonna suck to go through. But when I hit the cloud though, as I walk by, I'm like, wait. This actually smells good. What's going on here? I'm very confused.
Looks like Jewish in Chains has joined us. We're glad we...
Jewish in Chains.
Jewish? What'd I say? Jewish? Oops.
Jewish.
I like Jews. I got no hate. I do think we're glad we answered your question. We're glad you like the advice. The other thing that really separates this product is not just the detail of the tavern, but all the lore that surrounds it. So this starts off what's called the corruption of a cult. And it says, after several attempts to earn his trust, Gowermount may decide to finally confess the truth of his daughter's lineage to Krista and possibly the adventurers themselves. Recalling such memories cause him no small amount of pain. It would only be spoken of in privacy. Now, that to me is intoxicating. That pulls me in as a hook. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of this, but let's just say on the picture that's in this, you see a succubus riding over top of worried-looking Gowermont.
Yep.
Would you agree?
Yep.
And so that picture really really captures the essence of what this whole corruption of the cult detail is involving and how it is adding to the uniqueness of this location. The other thing that follows that is Quest the Corruptus. The Corruptus? Whatever. And it leads to a quest and a short adventure.
The Corruptress. There we go.
That the players and the NPCs can actually go on, which is fantastic, I think, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's phenomenal. And it's well written. The NPCs are interesting, and the encounters are really cool. And I don't want to get too much into that because there's a lot to go through. But this is one location of the like 9 that are in here, and it comes with all this. So you're really getting some amazing content here. And you know they include here's the page, the monster manual. You can find these, and it looks like all of them are out of either the Monster Manual or Xanathar's Guide. So once again, you've got the breakfast. So overall, the tap rooms are pretty dope, I think. Or not the tap rooms. The tavern is pretty dope. Lots of detail. Like I said, I love the little print-offs, man. If you're a person like me that likes to do physical things to engage, tangible things for your players to engage upon, this gives you that for every single one of these inns. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you have any more comments on the Big Bone Cookery?
I mean, the fact that you have multiple quests that you can go off of, and the fact it goes to a lot of detail to the NPCs, that's definitely a win in my book. I wouldn't mind staying here just because of what we as a players might end up dealing with.
Yeah, and that's so great. And especially as a DM, if you're looking to deviate from a normal quest, we've talked about in the past that if you are in a game that's very serious and you want a lighthearted tone, it can be a lot of work to come up with extra adventures. You can just pull one of these locations as a stopping location for your players and run what's in here that follows a different theme and a different feel than your normal game. Maybe pick one of the ones that's a little more lighthearted, one that's a little more investigative, and it's a good way to monitor or change up the way you run. And it adds so much, especially if you run a game where you start in a main city and you stay there for a long time. Something this fleshed out is fantastic. So, all I saw is marijuana show up in the chat feed. Ticker Tim. Oh man, lots of good stuff, and they're all got unique. They all have their own unique flavor. Is there a particular inn that you thought was interesting that stood out for any reason?
Well, the one I was actually looking through in particular when we were when I was skimming through was where did the label go? The Taste of Fire.
Taste of Fire.
And the menu.
Is that an inn or a tavern?
Oh, I'm sorry. That was a tavern.
Do you have an inn? I mean, we can talk about the tavern too, but I figured we'd pick one from each.
Yeah.
Each line.
I mean, nothing jumped out at me in particular, but the artwork, though, for a few of them definitely is pretty solid.
Yeah, I love that there's a cost rating for some of these things, and like one of the first ones is called the Beg Hag, and it doesn't even get a full. It's got like a half of a rating in pricing, and that really that immediately without reading anything really tells me what there's some sketchy stuff that's probably going on there, at least in my opinion.
It's probably run by Mo.
No, I think I would give Mo at least a 1. Once he maybe a 2 if you count when he was running the flaming Mo. Or Homer, Flaming Homer. Was it Flaming Homer? Oh, he stole it.
He stole the Flaming Homer called the Flaming Mo.
Yeah, bastard. And then he was about to make a big deal and get Homer like a nut job, ruined it all.
Although I probably would give it a 3 though when he changed his Mo's time to the feed bag for one episode.
So the Bed Hag, it says long before it opened for business, the Bed Hag was a massive 3-story barn, built as a part of a new settlement in the area and meant to be a nexus of trade for local ranchers. The barn was made of heavy cedar and pine planks and winterized with thousands of corn stalks and bales of hay for insulation. The large central loft was as big as a cabin and built to hold all manner of storage. It was constructed to be strong enough to survive the harshest of blizzards or even a rock thrown by a giant. That's awesome. So the fact that you're including it can survive a rock thrown by a giant means
that thing is pretty solid.
Or they must have had rocks being thrown by giants around there at some point too, right? So that to me suggests that either they're embellishing on it or that maybe there's mountain frickin' hill giants off and a few miles off in the distance, and they wandered through occasionally.
What's that sound? Oh, it's a rock. Get down for a second. They're on today.
So they go into some pretty good detail for the background. It says, sadly, it didn't take long for a pair of hags to sweep in, kill nearly all the workers, and abduct a local woman who they made one of their own, before the barn was even completed. The 3 hags gradually built several additions to the structure, making it nearly 120 foot long, 90 foot wide, and 3 stories tall at certain points. So now this is interesting. There's some interesting story behind this already now.
Yeah.
Right? You got people set up this thing as a trade place, and some evil hag bitches came through and just killed them all. That's horrible. So it does say it says that many attempts to reclaim the barn and stem the brutality of the hags were made, but ultimately failed. It wasn't until a group of the region's best hunters enlisted the help of a cell spell that the barn was finally reclaimed and the hags put to death. I would love, this is something I think would be cool. Could you imagine if you ran into this encounter and you guys cleared out the hags and this became the start of your own tavern, or you just became known in this town and you give it a new name based on your adventuring crew's name?
I mean, in our current adventure, we are running a tavern that is cleaned by a poltergeist that used to live there.
That is pretty awesome. Oh, that's hilarious.
And the assistant is the Kenku that we didn't murder that one adventure.
You probably should have. I can't believe that you made friends with a Kenku. Who does that?
Yeah. That backstory makes me think of the meme when the adventurers walk into the bar with the weapons out. Bartender, hey guys, what's the weapons for? Mimics. The bartender laughs. The adventurer laughs. The table laughs. They kill the table.
It was a good time. So this does give us details on the innkeeper. It says the innkeeper is Shayla Windspinner, a female Eluskin human. She bought the place with considerable monetary assistance from the cell spell that helped reclaim it. Once again, this is a great supplement. You could fit the adventures into that spot, right? Mm-hmm. and really tie them directly to this creation if you wanted to. Shayla, along with her 8 children, 2 brothers, younger sister, 6 nieces, 4 nephews, and a handful of cousins, renovated the place over the course of a few years, and the surrounding businesses finally began to thrive. That sounds awesome. So you got a family-run business, opened and supported and saved by an adventurer, possibly your adventurers. That's just fantastic to me. Wizard Cadia says, become a priest and turn the church into a inn. Call it the sanctuary. Sanctuary.
Sanctuary.
But then you're inviting Diablo and his bullshit fiends out to there, right?
Yeah.
I would think. So, go ahead.
Unless you have some highly effective staff. Did that way just smite that guy who walked in?
Maybe. So this is really
cool.
You
get used to it after a while.
So we talked about the different lore and stories that really come with this. This one has the lidless eye cauldron, a half-failed experiment. This black iron cauldron stands atop 2 iron chicken feet. That's funny. Inside the cauldron, peering up from the bottom as if living, is a watchful eye. It shifts around nervously, paying particular attention to what is dropped into the cauldron. On speaking a command word which Shayla knows, the cauldron fills with a greasy yellow smoke and converts whatever is inside into a potion or trinket of varying usefulness. How awesome does that sound?
That's definitely not what you would call a standard item.
I know, right? I mean, and what's more interesting, obviously, it is probably a result from something they captured from the hags, right?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a very haggish thing.
And so it ties directly into the previous creation of the place. But what's cool is you wouldn't expect something this magical in such a run-down, poopy area. You know what I mean?
Yep.
This is a pretty crappy tavern or inn, but it has this magical thing. And it gives us some of the things that it can turn into. So if the item that's tossed in is less than a gold piece, a bent copper flask full of bitter liquid that randomly turns the drinker's teeth dandelion yellow, pure white, charcoal black, or mud brown. That's fantastic.
Nice.
Ian, what happens if they toss something in more at a moderate mid-range price of between 11 gold to 100 gold?
Oh, the crystal vial could be filled with bubbly red liquid when consumed. Can have the imbiber grow, shrink, or alter the color of their hair, including body and facial hair, for 1 hour, after which the changes become permanent.
Oh, that's awesome. And there's a collection of these, but the big one, the big hitter, is if you do anything greater than 5,000 GP gold pieces, you get a potion of longevity. That is fantastic.
And by longevity, they don't mean age, they mean height.
What? Really? No. Oh, it does say that. It also increases the invitor's height by 1 to 6 inches. That's hilarious. I think that's in addition to the lifespan thing, probably. So there's a lot of story that goes into these inns, and you can see how they're different than the taverns, right? The tavern focused a lot on the staff. The inn focuses on a little bit on the staff, but they both provide rooms and amenities and menus. This one even provides a service of stables, which I think is fantastic. They do go... This is interesting. The cook in this one is called Cookie, and it's a female mage. I think that's hilarious. It's apparently Shayla's younger identical twin sister. So you can build off of that. Once again, they have a menu. We're not going to go into too much detail on that. But the quest sounds awesome. What is the name of the quest here?
Echoes of the Hag.
Oh, that sounds awesome. So if an adventurer befriends Cookie or John, they may confide a secret shared between the two of them. They believe Cookie may be losing her mind. So, without getting into the rest of that, what do you think that means?
Well, I think she, given the quest title and that little hook right there, I think the hag's left something behind that's screwing with her.
Yeah, or maybe she's slowly even transforming into one, right? Ooh. Like, instead of it just taunting and tormenting, she's probably maybe changing over time.
I taunt you a second time.
What does that say? Hiding great relics in plain sight of the staff of power next to the broom. Maybe the broom is a staff of power. Somebody just put some hay and wrapped it around the bottom and are sweeping it up. And of course, there's quests, and there's a quest tied to that and how it all fits together, which once again makes that a very lore thick, heavy story and place to visit. Or I think for me, this would be good for. I mentioned earlier one stop, but I think you would get the most out of this if it's at a place that the PCs visit regularly and spend a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
So, also, if you haven't already, click the follow button. What about Taprooms? Is there a taproom that really seems interesting to you there, Ian?
Let me speed my way through the document. This on what page again?
I don't know. It's 90 pages long before the end.
Yeah, the document is definitely 90 pages long.
Yeah, maybe I can make a better effort to include like the page numbers on the show notes.
Taprooms are on page 51.
I knew that. I was just seeing if you did.
It took a while to scroll through.
So taprooms are nearly impossible to confuse for taverns or inns, if only by their complete disinterest in offering lodgings to patrons. The majority of the time, energy and funds available to the business are poured into maintaining a robust and dynamic selection of alcohol and occasionally offering enjoyable environment. Most other things are ignored. So that's pretty straight to the point, right?
Yep.
And did any one of these particular ones jump out at you that you might want to discuss?
Well, there was the Black Branch Brewery, which was a 5-star cost, which you don't really see too much, actually, in most of the locations in general.
Yeah, so that's something that definitely stands out. What does it do?
63.
Yeah, what does it do that makes it stand out above the rest? Anything in particular?
Well, I'll read the paragraph. Built on the remains of an old foundry, Black Branch Brewery brews and serves a wide selection of elvish liquors, exotic wines, and northern meads. Where parts of the ancient stone building collapsed long ago, rich, well-tended wood walls and ceilings are seamlessly built to repair the structure. A sign on the shape of a black tree stands aside the road, the only marker given for travelers beyond the brewery's incredible reputation. The interior is dim and ripe with the aroma of wood smoke and fermenting beverages in the early stages of development. All of the 6 pale maple tables and stools at the bar are within eyesight of several workers, tirelessly preparing barrels of the brewery's house-made vintages.
Bourbon Joe.
Extremely expensive hand-crafted beverages that draw collectors and gastronomies for miles.
So that is really thorough and really interesting, because that was, when I first picked this up, that was one of the things I was like, man, how are you going to make taprooms seem so different? But
and the fact that even though it's so small is a high cost.
I know, right? Which is really interesting, which means the stuff that they sell must be interesting, right?
Looks like crap. Tried the beer. Holy crap, this is amazing!
I'm upset that Bourbon Toe is not on this list.
Yeah.
I think this is a fantastic addition to any adventure. I don't know that I would use taprooms all too often. I think that's something that I would easily be able to toss into like a brief stopping location in the middle of an adventure. You know what I mean? Like like in the middle of like a location. Like imagine you get to that fork in the road, instead of like a hostel or an inn or anything. There's just a tap room there. Say, yeah, you can go this way, get that. Go here, get that. Here's some booze. You know what I mean? It isn't a place necessarily for people to stop overnight, but to get maybe a little bit of information and a quick stop.
And now I'm thinking about the book, The Drunk of the Dark by Tim Powers. Great book.
Is it?
Basically, it's a fantasy book that follows an aging Irish mercenary who happens to, big plot twist, be the reincarnation of King Arthur.
That sounds cool.
And the memories occasionally take over whether he likes it or not. So he ends up riding in the passenger seat.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And the reason why it's called The Drunk of the Dark, though, was like most of the book takes place at a inn/tavern, which has to be a center of power for all of Western Europe. And they basically brew a beer there called the Dark, which takes a few hundred years to brew.
Ooh.
And whoever drinks from it gets longevity.
Wow, that's cool. That fits really good. I like that. And actually, you touch on something that I think is interesting that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about before adding to our repertoire of stuff is food and drinks that offer beneficial effects. I didn't see any of those in here, but I could have missed them. But definitely something I want to venture into at some point. So the other thing that makes this tap room really interesting is they talk about this the brewing staff, right?
Yeah.
You got the staff members and the amenities. What makes it interesting though is they're elves.
Well, actually, not all of them.
This one says, oh, one says it's a human, and then it's 3 female elves.
Yep.
Sun elves.
The brewing staff employs 8 male and female Demarian and human commoners, 3 female sun elf scouts, and 4 retired male and female dwarven guards to act as brewers and brewers' assistants. That's
Very
actually
nice.
kind of a very eclectic group there.
Yeah, it's a very nice distribution. I totally just missed the first line there. Like a schmuck.
Schmuck.
This quest is interesting. So, people who have frequented the Black Branch Brewery are generally highbrow aristocrats, adventurers, and city officials. Such members of society are often view adventurers as a commodity, since cost is very little object. They expect that with enough coin, their problems can be resolved, and as such, the following quests and any others you'd like to inject can be as narrow or as easy, or as wide, branching, and difficult to complete as you'd like them to fit in you would like to fit them in your campaign. So to me, this is something that really could start off with a very political intrigue style game, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Because you're dealing with a lot of aristocrats, and they'd like to backstab each other left and right all the time. That's pretty much all they do and how they roll. So this would be a really good one. So in fact, one of the quests that they discuss is called Venomous. Once Hasselvel Castforger is assured that the party is trustworthy, she confides a trouble that has been weighing heavy on her mind for several days. A guard captain within the city, Riddle Amberley, has frequented the brewery every day for the past 10 days, perusing the stock, paying special attention to the stored barrels before leaving without a sip or purchase. So what do you think that means?
I was actually writing back and forth in the chat right now, so I kind of missed it all together.
I think he's casing the joint.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. If you're coming every single day for 10 days, you're not getting a drink, you're just paying attention to the barrels. This to me suggests that there's some sort of plan forming. He's casing the joints, and it really gives a good open idea of what to do and what kind of things you can expect. I mean, if it's visited by aristocrats, it's probably a lot of gold too, right?
Yep.
So there's a lot you can do there.
Man, this stuff must taste good. They're judging aristocrats for their appearance of this tavern. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So there's a lot of other little details because there's quite a few different quests and I think that's the big difference between the taverns and the inns. The taprooms actually have a bigger quest list of things for the players to do, which I think is fantastic. The last chapter here it gives you a step-by-step guide to creating your own, right? It says, no matter how many of these locations I or any other writers create, you may have the need to create one of your own devising for a specific purpose or location. The following is a list of questions to help you better flesh out what you need in your unique location. And they give you a list of questions and little examples of answers. Like this one says, how big is the location? It says tiny, house-sized, a mansion, a compound, whatever. And they give you some examples, and then they give you kind of a step-by-step guide of how they built their stuff, which is fantastic. I think it's very fleshed out and captures most of what you would need, including things, even asking questions about clientele and stuff, which is awesome. What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of details you can go on here, and there's a few tables you can roll on, too, for that matter.
Yeah, and that definitely makes it, if you're not exactly sure, it's nice to come up with your own stuff, but sometimes it's quicker just to roll a die, and I roll a d10, and poof, I get an 8. It's chaotic neutral. The trickiest of the patrons to oversee. They are unpredictable and sometimes wild, but their general apathy makes them agreeable more often than not. So they give you some good ideas of different types of clientele that can be visiting your establishment, which is pretty cool.
I mean, rolling the table for names, you might end up for something like, I don't know, the Lonesome Clam. I don't know.
One thing we did kind of gloss over was the amenities, and there's quite a different amenities from bathhousing, book collection, sanatoriums. There's a lot that the different businesses offer, and of course there's a nice big list of things you can do. One little touch on here is the metaphysical features, which I think is cool. Because you get a list of features, which is nice. Like, one's a tamed roper named Flip. He lives on the ceiling, gently spinning the chandelier. Like, what the hell? That's the coolest thing ever.
And pretty freaking random.
Right, yeah. I mean, I've never heard that. That really was awesome. So there's some shit like that, which is pretty cool. And then you have metaphysical traits, which is any trait outside the realm of our human understanding can be classified, quote unquote, as metaphysical. So one of these things says, no patron has ever gotten full from eating or drunk from drinking on the premises. A curse on the building won't allow it. That's horrible. I'm going to go and get some booze, but I can't get tanked.
I think some people might see that as a bonus.
Yeah. Once again, we're covering Taverns, Inns, and Taprooms from the DM's Guild. I'll chuck the link in there. I don't remember if I did already. I think I did.
I'm nothing about the Raven Hotel from Altered Carbon.
That's still on my to-watch list.
Yeah, short version, a hotel that's run by computer AI who basically imitates Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, I got it. Oh, this is cool. Did you see the illegal amenities?
No.
There's a black market. Items, people, or services that are considered illegal in the region are sold in secret inside the establishment. Oh, monster breeding. That is awesome.
Okay. The Battle of Buster Scruggs.
Breeding ropers. What's that?
In the Battle of Buster Scruggs, when he walks into the bar, I'll have some whiskey. Whiskey's illegal. It's a dry county. All right, but what are those guys drinking? Whiskey. They're outlaws.
That's funny. So there's a lot of good stuff here, and it really just is full of awesome. Can't recommend it enough. At the very least, you got some of ideas from watching the show and can come up with some of your own to fit those themes. Man, I really want to run the tavern with the succubus behind it in the lore.
Yep. Of course you would.
What is that supposed to mean?
Exactly what you think.
I think that'll do it for our main topic today. Is there anything that we missed that you wanted to touch on, or?
Not in particular.
Okay. Well, I think that'll do it for our main topic today. Before we move on to our unearthed tips and tricks, we have another gift to give away. Compliments of our boy, Jeff Stevens. And it occurs to me that it still says Loresmith there, but that's fine. I need to fix that. Let's put a link in here. Ian, who is our... Wait, did I put that in the right spot? Yes, that's the right spot. That's Jeff Stevens. Who is the winner of Jeff Stevens' Madhouse of Tasha's Kiss?
Our winner today is, and I'm probably going to be slaughtering this, Niels Stalins.
Yeah, that looks good to me. Congratulations, Neil. If you enjoy the adventure, please leave Jeff Stevens a review. If you haven't won or wanted to check out Jeff's stuff, you can go to critacademy.com/Jeff-Stevens and check out some of his fat loots. He's got some good stuff. Guy is amazing.
NIELS.STAELENS.
Oh, did you type it out because you weren't sure how to pronounce it?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, that'll do it for that. Before we move, or now we'll be moving on to our unearthed tips and tricks, and I'm trying to figure out where all the stuff is that Brandon's got. Because, you know.
And now, what you've all been waiting for. Our Unearthed Tips and Tricks segment, where we bring you new and reusable material for both players and DMs.
Chuckles is saying, I just did one of his ventures for the past 2 days. He ran Madhouse of Tasha's Kiss twice, I think. And there's a lot of content in that, Chuckles. How much of it was the same as when you ran it before? Because that'd be interesting, because there's a lot of stuff in there. Mm-hmm. There really is. I know Tater was watching us, and I know he noticed something different right from the get-go. That whole intro was pretty similar, but right after they get into the madhouse, it kind of goes whatever way.
Woo!
Yeah, he basically says, the first room was the same, that's about it. All right, so our character concept is our escaped thrall. In the depths of darkness, creatures such as mind flayers and obelisks exert their loathsome desires over the minds of other denizens of the world. It's nearly impossible to escape their control once dominated, but a few do exist. Now, with this concept, you can really determine how recent your enslavement was and by which creature particularly. If it helps, you can work with your DM so that they can better incorporate this into the story in some way. But escape thralls are focused on fleeing and voiding creatures that have enslaved them and enslaved others. And maybe they do that. Maybe you become a bounty hunter who focuses on getting your revenge by going out and specifically looking for these, or maybe you just try to flee from them. I would say most likely they would just flee because of the fear and terror of what it's like to lose control of your body. But what makes this character outstanding and fun to play is the recovery process should be a really important aspect of the character's personality. So how has your character's body, mind suffered from the experience of being manipulated out beyond their control? And does that, psychic voice dominate their mind? That dominated their voice still echo with faint, voices from the past? Does their body tremble at a particular sight, sound, or touch, or something along those lines? What do you think about this, Ian?
There's a lot of creatures out there that can do a lot of stuff to people, so that can definitely leave a mark depending on what they escaped from. There's a lot of variety there.
Yeah, in the Dritz series, and some of his buddies are actually captured by mind flayers, and you get to see how that really affects them and how it's all tied together. And it really is a traumatizing thing for time to just pass like that on you and not have any control over it.
Man, I escaped from my old master. It was horrible. What was it? It was a succubus. That sounds pretty awesome, actually. You would think so. Until it isn't. Until it isn't.
Oh, yeah. Tater said, Justin also had an awesome poster for the table. He did make us a bunch of awesome stuff. Thank you, Tater.
He did.
Overall, what do you think about this concept? Is this something you can see yourself running? What would you do to enhance it, or what would you change about it?
I think this is a pretty solid concept altogether, and you can build so much off of this, especially depending on, like I said, what was controlling them or them captured.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely love the idea of an intellect devour. Can you imagine something crawling into your brain?
A cured werewolf.
That would be... Oh, a cured werewolf. That's cool. I like that. Oh man, I like that. That's really cool. That might be another concept, I think. Overall, I think this is great. It's a lot of fun. Once again, it really comes down to making sure you give yourself flaws that tie into it and how your character reacts to people who manipulate. Because if you've been a thrall, your reaction to people using controlling magic is going to be different than somebody that hasn't, right? Like, you're all probably, even if it's another PC party member, you're probably not going to trust them as much.
No.
Like, no, you don't do that. You don't enslave people. A wife. I think that'll do for our character concept today. Our monster variant comes from Joseph Laurendo. Now, Joe is a longtime fan of the show. I've missed him. I haven't heard from him in a while because they were doing some moving around, and they finally got moved in, and he contacted me, and he sent me this awesome idea. It wasn't fleshed out mechanically, so I had to add some stuff, but I just love the idea. It is called the Swarm of Fae. The origin is the swarm of insects, and it basically creates an LSD style mental trip using that to me is just awesome in general, because it kind of goes in hand with kind of our escaped thrall feeling. While they're not so much changing or mind controlling you, they do alter your perceptions. One of the big new features we gave is we increased the size to large to get a bigger impact from this. What is the psychedelic pollen feature there, Ian?
If a creature starts its turn sharing a space with a swarm of Fae, they are magically forced to make a DC 11 Wisdom save, or for 1 minute, they experience psychedelic colors and sounds. The target can't take reactions and must roll a D6 at the start of each turn to determine its behavior. 1 through 4, target takes no actions or bonus actions and use all of his movements to move in a random direction.
Run away!
5 through 6, the target doesn't move, and the only thing you can do on his turn is make a Wisdom saving throw, ending the effect on a success.
So now this is a terribly potent screw with your players thing. While it won't kill them, probably, because it doesn't do much damage, having them have to fight a monster in this psychedelic pollen can really ruin their day.
Whoa.
I love that. That's awesome. I would personally, if this happened to me, I would role play becoming like a surfer or something like, hey, dude. How's it going? Do you see all it? It's fantastic, man. Yeah.
I've had a trip like this since college.
I think this is a very fun thing. I love the idea that it's random. So if you put this in an area where there's lots of traps or hazards like magma or cliffs, holy crap, let them run off an edge, is pretty fantastic, I think.
Or quicksand.
Oh, quicksand. That's a good one. They're like, dude, my bottle tingles all over as they're like sinking into the sand. It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. It definitely can change the way your characters perceive threats. Because this isn't necessarily an enemy that's trying to kill them. It just might be a swarm of insects that are passing through, which I think is fantastic. Fear and loathing. I like that. That's awesome. Old Handic. I'm pretty sure I slaughtered that. Dwarf brownies, that's funny. But overall, could you see yourself using this? What do you think about this?
Definitely can be used to manipulate the players doing something they don't want to do necessarily.
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely just is overall confusion. It is confusion, I say. And anytime you do something like that. Can I just say, I just was telling I was running Madhouse Tasha's Kiss. There's a lot of mind effery that goes on in that. And I literally brought a group of players who had the absolute perfect builds to go against this, and it didn't even occur to me. There was 2 paladins, and both had the saving throw buffs and shit, and it's horrible. No mind control, no memory modifications. It was a sad day for me. Though they did some epic ass shit in the game. I'll talk about that after we're done, but it was pretty awesome. Make sure to ask me about that. I think that'll do it for our monster variant. Our encounter of the podcast is... It doesn't have a name. This is called the Alchemist Researchers, what I'm going to call it.
Sure. The alchemist, Annette, who's a half-elf, is researching crawler poison and is in need of samples and is looking for help from the PCs. She indicates that since she's not a combatant, she has sent out some of her assistants to attempt and gather the samples. She requires eyes, venom sacs, and tendrils for her research, all of which must be harvested before, and I stress this again, before the creature is killed. One skilled in medicine or nature could be successfully do this. If the PC lacks the skills, they can also acquire the help of the assistants that she already sent out. And Annette continues that certain stages of her research require live specimens, and she recommends laying out traps to catch one. A nature check confirms that they prefer to devour rotting flesh. If any of the researchers are in danger, she offers additional rewards for their safe return, but reaffirms the prime objective is to get the samples first.
Yeah, I love this encounter idea. I think this is fantastic, and I'm not saying that because I wrote it. I'm saying that because it's a couple different things. First, when have you ever had an encounter where you had to try to wrangle something without and subdue it to get a sample from it while it's trying to kill you, but you're not trying to kill it?
Yeah, you're basically trying to dissect these things alive.
Yeah, I think it's just fantastic. And then the other thing is you have to set a trap and capture one alive. It's not as simple as just dragging it around. You have to find a way to contain it. And I mean, there's magic and stuff you can use too. Bag of holding comes to mind. Just open the bag occasionally so it can breathe and close it. I guess, I don't know, but I think that this is an interesting quest, and what could be added to it is that if the alchemist sticks around, it could be something that pays off with her giving out, anti-venom items or potions of crawler poison and stuff like that. So,
Camus opens up a tap room using monster parts called the Experiment.
Ooh, I like that.
Or it takes his awesome. Alchemist runs Phil's pharmacy in the back alley.
That's fantastic. Overall, I think this is a fun encounter, and it's definitely different and will fit into any sort of game, especially if you want to get away from the constant number crunching. This is a good way to see how clever your players are. I love the idea that they could accidentally kill it with a crit or something. That'll do it for our encounter of the podcast, the Alchemist Researcher. Ian, would you like to tell us about... Oh, you read the last one. I'll get this one. Our magic item of the podcast is... Ooh, I gotta do the armor of the tactician. This armor is heavy and very rare and requires attunement. In combat, the strength of mind can be far more important than the strength of body. And this armor, blue and silver armor that you enter battle with, plenty of both. It ensures you enter battle with plenty of both.
Wow.
Yeah. You have a +1 bonus to your spellcasting modifier. This armor has 5 charges for the following property. While attuned to this item, you can use a bonus action to cast True Strike cantrip as... Yeah, I definitely didn't write that right. To cast the True Strike cantrip as a bonus action. These charges recharge at dawn. Who's talking shit? I know it. I don't even gotta look
2 people.
up. I hate you all.
Tater.
Decker needs a nap. Suck a nut, Tater.
Yeah. Well, Katie is like, Decker needs a nap. Tater's like, just stop. You're not Brendan.
Yes, well, I tried to practice because I knew he wouldn't be here.
You failed.
You suck. Recharges at dawn. So what do you think about this?
Well, the fact that True Strike is normally a standard action, which is why nobody takes it.
Yep.
I got that pretty good, because True Strike, for those of you who don't know, allow you to have your next attack, your next turn, or whatever, be with advantage.
Yep, it basically grants you insight into your opponent's offenses. In this case, you are almost a tactician, so you're exploiting the techniques that they use through magic and manipulating it to grant leverage.
Oh, now they're telling me, Charles like, now Ian, you did the voice.
Do you want to try?
You have a +1 bonus to your spellcasting modifier. This armor has 5 charges for the following property. I'm pretty sure I tried to start doing it, but then moved on to something else completely because it was not working.
You did, but it was still better than what I did. I think that'll do it for our... What do you think about this mechanically? We didn't actually talk about that.
There's a good mechanic, giving you advantage as a plus, and the fact that it makes a useless cantrip semi-useful. Good.
What else is interesting is the +1 bonus to spellcasting modifier, because there's not very many ways once you get to 20 to really beef up that spellcasting modifier. So that's pretty nice. It increases attack rolls and saves and stuff. So it's definitely a nice item. It's specifically designed for a non-caster. Mm-hmm. You'll notice that I say non-caster because of heavy armor. I was thinking Eldritch Knight, who has to split their high priority between intellect and strength and con and stuff. So this helps get those ones that would have otherwise low crappy saves, gives them a little bit of buffer arms. So at least that was the intent, but you know, somebody will just take 1 level 1 fighter and still be a wizard.
Yeah, someone who multi-classed or took the feats.
Huh?
Or actually took the feats.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
2 of you.
I think that'll do it for our magic item, the armor of the tactician. Yes, I'm sorry I'm not as good as Brandon, but I tried. Damn.
Not very many people, Chuckles. Not very many people
take feats. I take feats. I like feats.
I'm firmly attached to the 2 I have.
Son of a bitch, dude. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Would you like to tell us about our dungeon master tip today, Ian?
Dungeon makers. Dwarves and minotaurs don't build their underground layers the same way. You can add creature flavor to your dungeons based on who or what made them. Consider the features typically found in the dungeons of various races, monsters, and groups, with description of specific features that you can build and expand upon when creating a dungeon location.
Wizard Cadia says it's okay. It's all Brandon's good for.
That's just savage.
Oh my god, that's so mean. But not wrong. He brings some good ins. Okay, yeah, okay. His voices are great, and his one-liners are funny. I miss you, B.
I just insult you too.
What?
I just jump insults on you too occasionally.
Yeah, y'all suck. What do you think about this? I like it.
I mean, that seems to be a pretty logical thing to do. Different creatures do have different aesthetic ideas, and they may do things differently.
Right. And The one thing that I really think is interesting, when you're crafting your dungeons, it shouldn't be just about what creates it, but also what lives in it, right? Because you can utilize those as markers to give good checks for the players to identify what they're going to expect. A player expects that when they go into a labyrinth, they're going to run into a what?
A Minotaur.
That's common. But what if instead you put lots of like claw marks along the walls and the ceiling that are like however many legs a crawler has, that indicates that there's a carrion crawler there instead, and you can have a nature check or something to detect that these markings look similar to this said creature. And if you can make it worse is if you can get two creatures that are similar. Let's say the carrion crawler and what is the stupid giant thing that looks like an earwig? You know what I'm talking about? It starts with an R. I can never remember what it's called.
I know what you're talking about. I just can't think of the name.
But anyways, you can easily have them make nature checks and
Remores.
yes, that's it, a Remores. So you can easily have them make a check, and if they mix it up a little bit, you can misdirect them between the type of monsters they see. So you can really leverage that to make their experience more of a surprise and more investigative without really having to do a whole heck of a lot of extra work. Just say, okay, there's a carrion crawler that lives in here. These are the types of marks that it makes. Here's the check to DC to determine what is crawling around on the walls and ceilings and stuff.
Ooh, or have lots of tiny cracks throughout the walls of the maze where insect swarms can come and go as they please.
Ooh, I like that. That's good. That's savage. And you can leave little poop residue and stuff, from the critters coming in and out. And broken wings and shit. So, you have anything else on dungeon markers?
Nope. Makers.
It's supposed to be markers. Sorry. Dungeon like leaving me marks. Dungeon markers.
Ooh, juggles have oozes seep in through the cracks.
Oh, I love that. And there's like gunk built up everywhere to give them the hint that there's oozes, but they don't see one, and then it oozes out of the crack. Oh, that's awesome. I hate it when it oozes out of the crack.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That'll do it for our Dungeon Master tip, dungeon markers. Our player tip of the podcast is, don't be a dick. And you can avoid dickitude by listening to Gary Hayes in rolling up a coffee lock. Now, I'm going to be right out of the gate, I'm going to be honest, this is a very mechanically heavy player tip. It's also broken as hell, and your DM will probably nerf the shit out of it. So if you decide to run it, approach your DM and encourage them to do something along the lines of saying, okay, maybe give me a limit equal to the number of my charisma, my modifier.
But it goes by the rules, man. The rules.
Yeah. So now that I've got that out of the way, the coffee lock takes 3 levels into Warlock and the rest into Sorcerer. Take the aspect of the Moon Invocation, meaning you never need to sleep to avoid exhaustion. So every time you short rest, including on non-adventuring days, you turn 2 of your Warlock spells into sorcery points. Then turn your sorcery points into Sorcerer spell slots. And every time the party goes on a long rest, you only take short rests. You never long rest. So you always just infinitely generate spell slots. Now, that's clearly an exploit and a loophole. Let's get that out of the way there.
It's clever.
That it is. So if you were to do this, I would be honest and approach your DM and say, hey, I want to do this. I understand that there needs to be a limitation. Can we decide on a limitation that would allow me to benefit from this combination? So let's say, for instance, I think spellcasting modifier is a good example. You say you can only gain the benefit from short rest a number of times a day equal to your charisma modifier. And I'm not going to allow you to do it when we're not actually adventuring, because otherwise it just creates this pile of crap that just steamrolls into how powerful your character is. That being said, by 5th level, you can do some pretty hardcore shit with this. If you consider taking Agonizing Blast as your second invocation, by level 5, you end up with an absurd amount of damage because as you're converting all those spell slots into spell points, you can twin stuff easier. You can quick cast stuff, or not quick cast, it's what is the meta magic? Is it quick cast?
Quicken spell.
Quicken spell. So now you can shoot 2 agonizing blasts that add your spellcasting modifier it and twin it each time. And so that can build up to a lot of damage really, really quickly. Like I said, this within the rules, this is clearly something you can do, but is broken as hell. So don't try to sneak it in there to your DM, or they're going to have a very negative response. What do you think, Ian?
But that's half the fun.
Yeah, that is. The reason I say bring it to your DM, because you can probably get away with much more comfort by offering a solution instead of just showing up and they're like, no, I'm nerfing that, you can't do it, even though it's well within the bounds. And can't twin something that can hit 2 creatures.
Yeah.
I think that
You can only twin single target spells.
Eldritch Blast can hit more than one, can it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. Anyways, okay, so that's not nearly as amazing as I thought it was. Well, at level 5, it still only does one thing, doesn't it? Or is that when it gets up to 2?
Yeah, up to level 5, but that's character level, not...
Yeah, still casting and twinning it is still an option then.
Yeah.
But that still makes it a terrible thing.
Or
you can
twin other spells in general.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can twin another cantrip then if you didn't want to go with Agonizing Blast, or you can twin the Agonizing Blast and quicken cast something else.
Yep.
Hey, quicken cast that True Strike. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quicken cast that True Strike and then hit with your next attack. Anyways, I think this is a really cool, interesting idea. It's obviously meant to break the game. Gary Hayes is the person that had this that I found on Reddit, and I wanted to share it with you. Ian, if a player showed up with this, how would you try to balance it?
I'd leave it alone.
You would leave it as is, so they just show up with infinite spell slots?
I mean, somebody was intelligent and built a good character. Why penalize them for it?
You're much more benevolent than me.
Doesn't mean it just means I gotta brew some tougher stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be more concerned that the person would outshine the rest of the party when they have infinite spell slots.
Yeah.
But then I guess you just don't make any downtime days.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're gonna run this campaign. It's gonna be a week long in game time, so you can deal with it. All right, I think that'll do it for our player tip. Don't
Be a dick.
I think that'll do it for our player tip. Don't be a dick. And you can avoid dickitude by building a coffee lock. I just now got the coffee lock thing because it doesn't sleep. I didn't make that connection before. I'm an idiot.
I have forced to sleep and I made that connection.
Ah, you suck. I'm really excited for our next topic. We hope you will join us next week. We will be discussing the D&D Essentials Kit. There is some really cool stuff in the Essentials Kit that really makes it a lot of fun. Companions is the first thing that comes to mind, but there's some other details I want to talk about. So this will be, I bought it. It's sitting in my house right now, and I can't wait to go through it. So come and join us for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you have any feedback on our tips and tricks or topics you'd like us to discuss, you can send them to us. You can email them to us at critacademy@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Facebook at Critacademy. Follow us on Twitch and YouTube at Critacademy. You want to take that next one? We hope you enjoyed your experience.
We hope you enjoyed your experience here at Crit Academy. If you did, you can help others find the show by leaving a hopefully 5-star review on iTunes or your platform of choice. Or just send us a message telling us how much you enjoyed the show.
Yeah. Also be sure to give us a like and a share. If you'd like to support the show, you can purchase our DM's Guild products right below. You can find one of our most recent releases is the Oath of the Voidwalker, which is a lot of fun. I just had a player running that in the adventure previous today, and he had a blast with it. I also had some input in the Jarlaxle's guide. It's a small input, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So definitely check that out as well. Brandon does art. I don't know if he actually has time to do that anymore, but you can check out his art and look for some commissions there.
Send him an email at least, see what you can do.
You can find the prices and stuff on our Facebook page. Make sure to subscribe to the show at critacademy.com. Follow us on Twitch and YouTube, all that jazz. That way we're there. That way you'll be entered to win cool prizes each and every week. And make sure to check out our fellowship members as well. If you haven't checked out Interparty Conflict, I love their show. It's absolutely awesome. Gabe and Jeff are really great guys who just have great conversations that are fun to listen to. Also check out Brute Force and Ignorance, actual play podcast. Dan and West and his crew, they are funny as hell. They got me doubling over laughing sometimes. And then, of course, check out The Kind GM and Jeff Stevens and Oricon's Lair. All of them are really great content creators that you should be following if you're not.
Mm-hmm.
I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Ian. Thanks for listening.
Keep your blades sharp and spells prepared, heroes. Now, really quick, I want to talk about what happened today. So they were fighting the final boss, and she fights him on a platform, and she has spider walk. So she grabbed one of the players and dragged him, and then walked under and was threatening to eat him, and was gonna basically tenderize him by dropping him. So one of the players misty steps to her, and then to the villain, and latches himself onto her with some manacles, and is dangling from the monster hanging upside down on this platform. So finally he uses one of his spells to impose a forced teleportation onto the target and forces it to teleport 10 feet lower than it's supposed to be, so it detaches and they all start falling. And then the damn bard turns one of the players into a giant eagle, and she swoops around, saves everyone, and then the enemy just comes a splattering pile of goo when they go to the bottom. And I was just like, that was a hell of a way to end it. It was awesome. Chuckles is like, that's me, damn bard. It was a lot of fun. It was some cool stuff. I had a blast. So we want to thank you guys for following us. If you enjoyed it, I highly recommend going to the AetherCon stuff and checking out the interviews I did. I absolutely had a blast doing it, and there's some really cool content out there from that. So all right, with that being said, Ian, let's wave to the camera and say goodbye.
Bye.
See you guys later. I don't know where the button is.